I come from, even in my family and working in church and all of that stuff. Uh, like I've seen what the city has done to like my parents. I've seen what the city has done to my family. So I think my perspective is different in that, like, a lot of people want you to fail.
Yeah. People like the PPP loan specifically.
Hmm.
It's just crazy. Like, of course, people are getting money. People are getting cash, and that's what they're excited about. Like the
Right.
20K, the 10K.
Uh huh.
That's cool, like in the moment, but no one's thinking about the repercussions. Oh, we recording.
Yeah.
No one's thinking about the repercussions though. Like that's what's so scary to me.
Well,
That's really
so there
scary.
are, because I just had I was working on some stuff yesterday,
Mm.
and the guy that was working with me, he had done the PPP loan, except he used it for everything
Legitimately type.
legitimately. So
Mhm.
he was like, "Yeah, that's how I got all of this." He had some equipment and stuff. He was like, "That's how I got all of this." His car was, he needed a new car, transmission and stuff going out. Instead, he invested in new equipment for his business.
Mhm.
Instead of taking the 10 grand, buying a new car, being like, even though he needed a new car, he was like, "I'd rather get this equipment with
Mhm.
this loan." So it is definitely legitimate people out there like getting it for like and actually
For sure.
investing in their business.
You know, in the
Um,
business, in the what I'm doing right now, like I'm meeting a lot of business owners,
mhm,
like restaurant owners, but
mhm,
some of them don't know like how to the ins and outs of even applying on the computer and doing this and that.
mhm,
I actually had one ask me, like he called me over to show him how to do that, and I didn't
mhm,
necessarily know, but I referred him
mhm,
to a couple of accountants. You know,
mhm,
that's not my lane, but on the
mhm.
other side, like the 10K to 20, and what's crazy is the people who are actually getting the cash. Those are the ones who are gonna be hurt. You know what I mean? The people who setting them up, they can dip.
Right,
They
right,
can go to Idaho. You know what I mean?
right.
And be going free. But that 20 gonna get ran back some way. I just don't. People like it's so much money. It's so many people doing it. Blah blah blah.
Well, it's good for what they have it for because the interest rate is like 1%,
Yeah, it's ain't it
which
zero
is
percent. A
right,
lot of stuff is forgivable. Like you don't
right,
have to pay it back anyway.
right.
So it's crazy. It's a good product, but of course
Mhm,
it's gonna get taken advantage of.
mhm,
I'm a worst case scenario type person. I'm not gonna
mhm,
lie. So
mhm,
with them freeing everybody from the weed, freeing
mhm,
everybody in the prisons,
mhm.
prison numbers
They're
are
gonna be right
probably
back in the.
presumably lower than what
Uh,
they were. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? This is just something to fill in the gap.
yeah,
Labor is important to this country.
yeah, yeah.
That's what they want.
They're gonna be right back in there with all of the.
The popular man. That's
What, man? That's a scam call. First of all,
1-800.
no, it was some kind of five something.
Nah, that's crazy though, man. I just obviously the worst case scenario is people just get caught up in the riffraff, and
Hmm.
I personally just I see it simply the government and the Fed just hires a bunch of underwriters and
Hmm.
they start
You think
tracking
they're gonna
it.
do that though?
It's not as many people as much as it seems like it's a lot of people doing it. It's really not.
Hmm.
Think about how many people there are. Like
Right.
it's still a very small pocket of people doing that. So it's very traceable. You're talking about like under a 500,000. I say under 500,000 computers to trace. Like,
Hmm.
is there more than a million people doing this, setting it up
I don't
across the
know,
country? Like,
because I mean, I don't. That's just a hard thing, even when it comes to like just fraud and the government in general.
mm,
It's such a broad. I was watching a podcast the other day, and they were like, a lot of reasons they don't and will not legalize drugs, the use of drugs, is because they don't know how to tax it. Not only because they don't know how to tax it,
mm,
because what they do with that money that comes in from the illegal sale of drugs is more important than what they would do. Because if they tax it, Now they're gonna be held accountable for every tax dollar that goes into whatever program they use.
Mm-hmm.
So they like, okay, like they gotta basically it'll be traceable if they tax it. If not, then nobody's gonna ask questions on where you get this money from. You
Mm-hmm.
get what I'm saying? So like the illegal and the hidden sales of drugs is more important to our economy than the taxation.
You know what's messed up? This conversation is probably a year late, but
Hmm.
not even.
Hmm.
Let me not be disrespectful. This conversation is prevalent at all times. Police
Hmm.
brutality.
Hmm.
That's the same thing with that.
Hmm.
When you think about the highly populated area cities in the country, Chicago, LA, New York.
Hmm.
These cities also have the most police brutality cases.
Hmm.
Okay. Those cost tax dollars.
Hmm.
Every police department across the country got a little pocket of money they set aside every month
Cause what happened
for
with all them?
police brutality
I
cases.
want to know what happened with all them drugs and stuff they be getting off the street. Well, I mean, we
Talk
know what
about talk
happens.
about broad. You know what I mean? Like they killing black people is profitable to police.
Yeah. Yeah.
That killing black people is profitable to police.
Destroying
From the
any part
lawyers to
of
the to
any
the to the media talking about it, it's profitable to
yeah
like come on, man.
any part of any uh fall of black men, black women is profitable to really the United States government, the system in general,
It's a shame.
because like freedom and liberty, justice for all was not for all.
Mhm.
It was only for a specific demographic of people, which they weren't black.
Hmm.
Because essentially, you think about it, the foundation of America was started and made by people that were criminals in England that basically got kicked out of England,
Mm.
and then they came here and started a society and killed most of
Killed
the
the
Indians,
killed
the
killed
Native
the leaders,
Americans.
killed the leaders, killed the people, killed the
Hmm.
leaders, killed the writers, killed the
Hmm.
speakers, killed the
Hmm.
readers. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah,
Killed. It's crazy.
yeah. Well, I didn't think we was gonna get this
I mean,
this deep, but
but that's the fact though. Like, but you have to realize the foundation of it. We was talking about last time. I don't really project the USA itself existing for another century. I just
no.
don't. I don't project it because not in itself. I really see it being separate colonies, whether it's East and West, whether it's 50 separate colonies. Like because of how it was structured. Any other thing we talk about, a house, a business, a family, anything that's built with a rough structure,
Hmm.
we always say it's nature,
Hmm.
a tree,
Hmm.
anything. We always say it's gonna fail.
Right.
Think about how the country was built.
Hmm.
Like it can't survive like this. It
Yeah.
has to be a major overhaul, and whether that's a constitution, another constitutional convention. That's what really needs to happen.
Hmm.
They need to throw the Constitution away completely. We talk about the 13th Amendment. Throw it away completely. We need to rewrite it today with today's thinkers, today's,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Because 1776, bro, that's not gonna do it, bro.
Yeah.
It's not gonna do it. We surviving off a document from that long ago.
Yeah. And because I think about it all the time. I was
Mm.
really not trying to talk about politics.
Is that politics or is that just
It is.
facts?
It's
Like,
it's a fact, but it's also politics because like even the laws and stuff that they make now. Like I was thinking the other day, with all of these states, because what was that last week that Texas was like, all right, we completely over it,
yeah,
and no mask or nothing like that.
but
Which
they
that
can
if that's their
they can
prerogative,
do that.
right?
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
that's
So
crazy.
even like what you were saying, that it makes sense because even throughout this pandemic, all of last year, you got different states. Like you cross over the state line, the rules change, laws change. Of like the mask mandate, how many people can be in a certain building. You go to if we went to Indiana, that's what a lot of people were doing. Like, I'm just gonna go get married in Indiana. I'm just gonna go have a wedding or whatever or a funeral in Indiana because it's right from here. It's like 15, 20 minutes. So a lot of people, and that's where a lot of people were like, Trump needs to do more with such and such, and he needs to demand that everybody do such and such. And it's like you can't because the way the system is set up, the way that it's
states
structured,
can really do what they
states can do
ultimately
right,
states can really do what they want
right.
ultimately. So when they were already fed up with the last president enough to the point that they can the next president that they're fed up with is
Hmm.
like it might not be Biden, but the next president that they're fed up with is like
Hmm.
that they're truly fed up
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
It's like, all right, bro. You know what I
All
mean?
right, we got it. We got it.
Texas,
Hmm.
they out of there first. I ain't gonna lie. If it come down to it, Texas gone.
Texas and between Texas and
Cali,
Florida,
Florida.
because Florida always since well, according
I say Texas because financially, workforce, you know what I'm saying, economy. I think
Mhm.
Texas could survive. Well,
well, weren't
Texas
they one of
would
the last
survive
states to be added? Because they were part of Mexico.
because I feel like because they were just like they were their own thing. They a part of I don't know.
I know they were a part of Mexico because that
Yeah.
was a lot of the Mexican American War was that territory of Texas, and I remember if I'm remembering my U.S.
You know,
history
yeah,
correctly,
class. You know what I'm saying?
that was a lot of what the Mexican American. That was mainly what it was about was where the border was, and so if you look at Texas, it takes a dip
Pretty
into
big.
Mexico.
Pretty big.
Right.
Man,
So, and a lot of Texas is also just that's where a lot of the border crossing happens because most of it, a lot of Mexicans believe that we should still own this land. So, like when you talk about just states becoming their own colony, pretty much, and just their own territory, Texas and as well as Florida. I don't know about
that's like
California is a little too democratic
to
to
do that.
be to do that. It's more so the Republican states that be like,
And that's what could, you know what I'm saying? Maybe the United States doesn't have 50 states.
mm-hmm,
Maybe it has 45, you know what I'm
mm-hmm,
saying? Something like that, in that
mm-hmm.
scenario. You know, who knows, but
Yeah, that the whole way that America got this land is trash.
interesting.
It's
Hmm.
is extremely trash because you just come in and be like, we own this now, and you can't do that today. Even though that's what, like you said, that's what this country was built on.
I mean,
You can't go
you
in
can
somebody's house and just be like, "This is my house."
when it comes to that's what war is though. That's what war is.
Maybe I should try that.
And we've never. I'm saying on a country level, but on a personal level, that's kind of I don't think.
That
Probably
probably ain't gonna
in
go
some
well for me.
countries, you know, people say we spoiled over here, bro.
Oh yeah.
Some countries, I don't know, it might be some law you step on. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if you do something, then you might lose your house. It
Right.
might be. Some
Because we
countries-
do we are spoiled over
Man.
here. My brother just got back from Malawi. Not even just him, but just from talking with different friends. I was talking to my family the other day, and one time I was talking with a couple of my friends, and we were debating on what the most oppressed demographic of people, like who they were, who was the most oppressed demographic of people
in the country or
in a country.
hmm.
So we were talking about black men, black women, pretty much going back and forth between those two. My friends brought up orphans and widows, but
Hmm.
then they brought their other friend, his one of my friends, his roommate. He brought his roommate in, and he's not from here. He's from India. So he was like, "It's interesting to hear people have this conversation, but a lot of people really just want to get here." And a lot don't really care about like where they land in the totem pole of status or anything.
Yeah.
Because a lot of like when you talk about the freedom of religion, freedom to believe whatever you want to believe, he was like, back home, if I were a Christian, I get kicked out of my neighborhood, embarrassed by my community and my society around me, because that's not what the thing is over there. So he was like, I like really in the other countries, they really, sadly enough, it's not that they don't care about oppression, but they don't get the chance to have freedom to do stuff like have a podcast and actually talk about this stuff. Granted, we say we go too much to the left, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, somebody gonna take it down. But still be able to have the freedom to be like, I think this of the government, and I think this of this person or whatever. A lot of countries just don't have that freedom to be able to do that. So the fact that we have that and we still are now, that's not to justify the wrongdoings of what has happened to not just black people but Hispanics and people of color. However, at the same time, we are, if you think about it, like we just spoiled
Yeah.
because we don't think about those things because we don't deal with them.
We definitely have an open platform to speak.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have to watch what you say. It's I
Mhm.
mean, I'm talking about a open, like
Mhm.
a wide open
Yeah.
platform, man. It's kind of set up that way. Like I feel like they'd rather you say it so they can almost know who's doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of they ain't gonna let you get too far though. I
Mhm.
mean, they ain't gonna let you get too far. That's
Mhm.
why you have to mend your words. Like
Mhm.
you know what I mean? It's so much.
You gotta watch.
It's so much. I throw the jabs. I
Mhm.
will throw the jabs.
It's funny.
but-
It's so funny to see all of this censoring
Mm.
on these social media sites now,
I hate it.
because now they can, even with a lot of things from, because
Like algorithm censoring. Like
Mhm.
if you say this word,
Mhm.
your post will not be seen. Like
Mhm.
and people, it's clear now. Like
it's
before,
obvious.
people was I can see what my friends say.
Right.
Okay. Then they started making it obvious. They started sending you notifications.
Yep.
You will not see posts like this,
Mhm.
and your post that you post
Mhm.
like this will not be seen. Like,
Yeah, and it's sad. So in a way, that's another tier of government,
yeah.
social media, just in general. So they are even trying to come up with laws around social media censoring because in certain areas,
Mm.
you just don't.
That's why the freedom. It's just like, man.
I think
I'm
we still
done.
got
I'm
freedom
done.
though.
I'm done with I ain't gonna say I'm done with Facebook and Instagram, but I was literally on my drive here. I'm just thinking about like, what is that? Like, what
Mhm.
really is it? Like,
I mean, it's great for marketing. I will say that.
but I was thinking about that. I'm
Mhm.
like, even in a business, if you in a business and I'm thinking of myself as a speaker, like, if you a speaker, speak. If you in business, do business. The social media and stuff comes second, bro. That comes third, fourth, fifth. Actually, McDonald's wasn't making no social media page in the '70s, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's if you a business person, focus on your business. I social media is good for marketing. There's a lot of people on it. Everybody's on it. But if your business isn't presentable yet,
Right.
maybe you should tone it back a notch and focus on your business.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
That's just
Because a lot of people getting on there without having any kind of foundation for their business. Like, it's one thing, because I didn't get my LLC until last June, but I was already functioning like a business. I was holding sessions. Because I didn't, of course, like when growing a business, you don't know the steps. Oh, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to get this. You got to get this account. You got to get this. And that's
hard.
right. It's
Trial
things
and
that you
trial and
right.
error.
It's things that you learn
Man.
along the way. However, like I knew I wanted my business to be the foundation for my business to be solid. So being consistent, laying the groundwork for, okay, I want to do this. I want to build this first, and then I want to do this. I at least want to look like I got something. And so a lot of people, they start building a business or whatever without even thinking about a foundation. They just know they want to do such and such, and they don't take care of all the things that they don't want to do, if that makes sense. So I literally had days where I intentionally focused on the things that I didn't want to do,
man.
which is like the social media, because I don't enjoy doing that stuff.
Do you feel me?
I do not. People wonder why my profile pictures stay the same,
Bro, I
for almost a year or two.
I will pay people to the day to do social media, bro. I will pay people to schedule, design, create, curate. That's just not what I do. I talk. That's what I do, bro.
Mhm.
Like I talk, I sell, I create, I connect. That's what I
Mhm.
do. I don't do the social media, and it's cool. It's cool to see the finished product. I will say,
Yeah.
I love seeing the finished product.
Mhm.
I wish I could do that myself, but
Mhm.
that's why we have a team.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You don't have to do it all by
Mhm.
yourself. You work on what you're good at.
Mhm. And that's what
See
a
the
lot of.
results.
I was just talking to another somebody that goes to my church,
Hmm.
and she just started her own business. So she comes to me every once in a while, just ask me a couple questions like, "How did you do this?" And I just be like, "Look, I just tried this and it
Trial
worked.
and
I
error.
tried this and it didn't work, so I went with this." But like even in talking to her, like you just see like she wants it bad enough to be able to try and be able to fail, knowing without having the fear of failing.
Hmm.
I just got lost in my thought and I completely forgot what I was finna say.
But everybody, people say it all. Everybody's starting a business, but like
Uh
that's
huh.
good. That's good to
Mhm.
see. I
I
I
love it.
love seeing it,
I love
especially
it.
from our people, bro. Like
Mhm.
it brings me so much joy. Like
Mhm.
because I project in the future, like 20 years from now. I was just with my bro before I came
Mhm.
here. We was talking
Mhm.
about how like our generation, the people that grew up in this city between
Mhm.
Kankakee, Bradley, Bourbonnais, Mac.
Mhm.
Even though we went to different schools,
Mhm.
we was tight,
Oh
bro.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we was a family, bro.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's let's see if it happens going forward. You know, we still kind of young. We in that kind of
Yeah.
tweener, 25,
Yeah.
30, you know,
Yeah.
30, you know what I mean? But we was pretty tight, and I just see a lot of people once again moving, doing what
Mhm.
they doing in
Mhm.
business, staying in it, making sure they giving back
Mhm.
to the city, to the
Mhm.
community, and the youth here.
Mhm.
Like I just, man, I have so much hope for the city. Like it's gonna be crazy, bro.
We'll see. Kankakee is it's one of those. It's a lot of potential here.
Mm.
A whole lot of potential. Um, but I look at the people that have come before us. Not to say we can't learn and we can't grow from that. But I think a lot of people within the city of Kankakee, uh, we often times try to fix the city if that makes sense.
Mm.
And it's one of those things that you can't really like. How I think about it is I can't make people want to be better.
Mm.
I can't I can't force somebody to want better for themselves. I can want better for myself, and I can do that pretty much anywhere I go.
Right.
However, for an entire city, not saying that Kankakee won't be able to be this great city because it definitely has potential, and everybody that comes through here, even when they're not from here and they come through the city, they're like, oh, this place could like be something great.
Can it get worse?
Can it get worse? Absolutely.
Yeah. They can be rummish. You know what I mean? What's it? I mean, Peoria is still a bigger city
Mhm.
than Kankakee, but
Mhm.
from where Peoria was
Mhm.
to now is like
But then I
crazy.
think about cities like Joliet.
Yeah,
Joliet is like a bougie
and
Kankakee.
people leaving Illinois, but
Mhm.
people are at the same time. Folks are leaving like big cities,
Mhm.
and although people are leaving Illinois, those that can't afford are going to like areas like Kankakee and Bourbonnais. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Away from the city,
Mhm.
on the lesser end of real
Mhm.
estate, unless you're looking at Bourbonnais, because it's kind of crazy out there, bro. It's crazy.
Said it's a
Like,
lot.
yeah, it's kind of crazy out there, man.
I was talking to your brother about that. And he was like, "Man, they
That-
want a
It's
lot for a little."
it's not a lot of properties available though.
Mhm.
So what a lot of people trying to buy is like,
Well, because the 10 year, not 10 year. I don't know how long the plan is, but the plan for just that area. Well, really, Kankakee County in general is supposed to be. I forget what did they say they had coming. I know they still trying to do the airport like 15, 20 minutes north. They saying Peatone. I don't think that's gonna happen.
I think it's going to get better because I don't think it can get worse as a whole area. Like because Bourbonnais in the way it's expanding,
Mhm.
Bourbonnais is probably going to be the ultimate bigger
Mhm.
area and city. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying around, but Kankakee, the greater Kankakee area, I think is even with Mantino. Like
Mhm.
Mantino was expanding.
Mhm.
Some of them outer cities are
Mhm.
quietly expanding, getting more neighborhoods.
Mhm.
Like it seemed like eventually everything is almost gonna touch,
Hmm.
like on
But
some what's
I,
that,
I
Ethiopia or something. Like,
I don't
sure.
know about one thing I think I've been consistent with is like I don't really think that, especially from last year, and the year that we all experienced and how everything went kind of like digital and online streaming or whatever. I don't think that I have to move outside of Kankakee anymore
Hmm.
to be able to be successful or anything like that.
Hmm.
I used to believe that, but I don't think so anymore.
Hmm.
Because one thing my dad always says is, "You will take you everywhere you go." So, like, people think that the answer to their problems is, you just need to get out of Kankakee. Now, of course, that's situational. For some people, you will be better in other areas. Like, of course, I would love to expand to different areas. But one thing I will say, like, that you and your brother encourage people to do is like, this where you from. Don't be ashamed of being from Kankakee, which I don't think I was ever ashamed of being from Kankakee. However, I think I come from, even in my family and working in church and all of that stuff. Uh, like I've seen what the city has done to like my parents. I've
Hmm.
seen what the city has done to my family. So I think my perspective is different in that, like, a lot of people want you to fail,
Yeah.
and when those people turn out to be family members, friends that you've known for years, that you thought was like, your ride or die, then of course, my parents, not that they have that perspective because I'm not really sure. I know what I saw, what I've seen, and
Hmm.
I know what I've experienced in us, giving everything we had to Kankakee. Not just us, but it's many other just pastors in general or people in general
Yeah.
that give all they have
And get
to the
burnt.
city and get burnt in the end. And then
Yeah.
so then you look at it from another perspective, like it ain't worth all of that.
Hmm.
It's not worth it to just in the end get burnt. Like you might have a good run for a little while, but over time, like you just get burnt. And that's really, I don't think it's really just the city in general. Like, although
It's worth
driving,
it's worth the process though.
you think so?
I'll say it's worth the
Mm,
process. The
I don't know
people,
if I agree with that just because,
it's the life. It's why you were here. It's the life you live, man. It's like if you went through that process, you touched a lot of people.
hmm
If you went through that process of giving back to the community, of course it's time, especially from a pastoral
hmm
perspective. You know what I
hmm
mean? A political, from politicians
hmm
to even doctors. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Teachers, like you giving so much to the community, and especially teachers, man. Out here, like you don't hear nothing good about the teacher, at least the teacher to, administrative relationship. I haven't heard anything good
Because they
about
on
it.
strike right now in Bourbonnais.
Yeah, like
And I saw a sign because I saw somebody post on Facebook and was like, it's funny how Bourbonnais on strike, but they get paid more than the teachers in Kankakee or whatever. However, a lot of their strike actually has to do with Kankakee School District
mm,
because they aren't paying their teachers. They aren't contracted, and they
wow,
aren't paying them as equally.
that's commendable.
So, like, because I was driving past, where was I
Well,
at? I forget. I was driving past, and I saw the signs, and a lot of them were like, "Pay our neighboring districts."
wow.
Because y'all, like, it's one thing to pay us, but it's another thing to pay our neighboring districts because they
When the
teachers just
schools
like,
start, you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
that's
major.
yeah, and
It's
a lot
major.
of that, of course, has to do with last year and people noticing because yeah, we still aren't where we supposed to be, where we still aren't where we should be as
Mm,
a community, as a society. But a lot of people woke up to the idea of maybe we are privileged. Maybe racism is a thing, and it doesn't just have to do with I hate black people.
mm,
Like oppression is a thing, white supremacy is a thing. Like that, those are things that are built in and deeply embedded in our government.
Mm.
And a lot of people are waking up to that idea, and they're seeing the differences in the Breonna Taylor case. Like, why in the world did you even get a warrant for her place? She broke up with dude years before y'all even got this warrant. So how? And then to use all of that force, not saying, no, I'm not somebody that is against the police. I'm not like that at all.
Hmm.
However, there are cases, even if you watch shows. There's a show right now I watch Chicago PD.
Hmm.
And just watching that show, you see how they're literally their own gang. I don't think it's intentional that the show is for that.
The movies, bro, they tell us a story. They tell us that they don't come from nowhere. The ideas, like
Because
someone's seen the inside.
they watch each other's back. And my not to get spiritual, but my pastor preached a message on Sunday, and he was like, "You ever been driving and you watch the cop that's supposed to be following the law just blow through a red light? It might be yellow, but then or just speed past you,
Mm-hmm.
not on the way to a call, just driving fast, or texting on their phone while they driving. You ever see a cop do that or anything like that?" He was like, a lot of policemen really believe they're above the law because a lot of the idea that you see, that I see consistently is like, come on, man. Especially if, like the thing that happened with, what's the guy? They got his neck kneeled down. I mean,
Floyd.
George Floyd. A lot of that had to do with like he couldn't correct his fellow officer because there's a brotherhood that's supposed to be there.
Hmm.
So it's like when you going against siblings. Like I'm not finna turn on my brother or my sister. I'm not finna turn on. That's my brother. That's my sister. It don't matter. I might deal with them later, but right now they doing what they doing.
They was motion. You know, he was standing. You seen the old man was standing there
And
with
didn't even say like, "Hey
standing
man,"
there.
correct him and be like, "Dude, move your knee off his neck." And you don't need to do all of that. He's down. He's not moving.
It's just
But like
real life.
even in that, like that's just the not identity, but that's who they are. They basically like a gang with the law behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just don't understand how they investigate them own selves. Their own self. Like, how do you investigate your own self?
Hey, in a democracy,
I don't get it.
that's the only entity.
I don't understand.
I believe maybe in the world. I know in the United States, I feel like that investigates themselves. I'm trying to think of branches of government. Like even they have
A check,
you know what I mean?
checks and balances.
The president himself,
Mm-hmm.
Congress.
Mm-hmm. Because they all of them balance out.
Other than the Supreme Court judge himself,
Right.
like the head of the Supreme Court,
Right.
But damn,
Even to get to that level, and that's, I mean, we could go really all day about
it's crazy, bro.
government and all of that. I ain't think we was gonna get that deep.
Yeah, you can edit it. But what I was gonna say earlier about how we were saying the countries could be like dispersed. J. Cole once said like he doesn't project there'll be celebrities, and I feel like that'll come with that. Like there won't be because of so much media and such. Like
Mm-hmm.
it would be hard to be a worldwide or national celebrity in a sense. Like because there's gonna be so many people doing everything.
Yeah.
Like
So many people good at whatever.
everything. Basketball league. It's gonna be
Mhm.
like it's gonna be 2-3 NBAs.
Right,
Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
And that's because, but I don't know. I don't know.
That's to say if the world is gonna keep getting more people, like well,
I don't know. Population control.
yeah, global warming, Armageddon,
Right.
Like, who knows, bro? Like,
Yeah. Do people still? I don't. Do you think global warming is a thing?
yeah. I mean, I'm a person that I think that nature. I don't think humans can affect nature that much.
Mm.
To be simple, that's the simplest way
Mm.
I can put it. I don't think we're. I think we give ourselves too much credit. My grandma,
Mm.
my grandma told me I was on the phone with her the other week. She was like, humans are like Trump in a way.
Mm-hmm.
We're ignorant to the point where we think we can just do whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and we think we truly have like a say so.
Right.
And you know what I mean? We think we really have a say so in how this land moves and works.
Mm-hmm.
We have a say so in our own world, but like
Right.
water is gonna
Water's still
flow.
gonna be water.
Wind
The
gonna
sun's still gonna
blow.
shine.
And when those things stop,
Mm-hmm.
we ain't gonna be able to do nothing about it.
Right.
So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just I don't know. I don't feel like we have that much. I just don't. Unless
Mhm.
if we double in population, and you know, it's possible.
still.
But
Cause you think about
the world,
the world,
the system, like it's,
right.
of
You think about the world, like how big the world is.
the atmosphere, like
Yeah, like how much land is still
empty.
empty, just completely empty. You right? You drive out to Hopkins Park moments,
Bro,
and all of and that's just Illinois. That's just Kankakee County in general. That's just the county of where we live.
mm-hmm.
Like all of the available, like what's the cemetery? Mound Grove.
Mm.
Been burying people there for before I was born, and still have acres of available land to bury more people.
Man,
Like still have acres all the way in the back to still be burying people.
they preparing for it. Kankee's no small city. It's not, bro. There's 100,000 people here. There's between all the there's 100,000. It's like it's a lot of folks, bro.
But,
They gonna be there forever. They gonna be there forever. That's what I'm trying to say.
but all right. We ain't even do an intro, but it's all good. Thank y'all for watching Real Nonsense. I am JC,
I am Jay Clark.
and that's it. All right, we'll see y'all.
And I am.
Said I am.